Commissioners, we are live.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're at our 2 o'clock presentation from McPaws. There she comes.
Hello.
You can come sit at the table if you would like to.
Okay.
Is it-
Do you guys want me
Is that
standing
okay,
or
Mr.
sitting, or do you
Chair?
care?
Yes, of course it is. Wonderful. Clerk Miller, take care of you.
Sir. How's it going?
Good. What's your name?
Courtney.
Courtney?
Yes.
Meet you.
Good to meet you. See you again. It's been a year, but.
Good to hear.
Commissioners, the provided presentation was included in your packet.
It was.
I can pull it up on the projector if you would like.
Well, that'd actually be nice.
Okay.
If we could do that. Yeah, I was really surprised when I saw the numbers. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. Last year when I came and presented to you guys, I think I'd only been in my position for like 5 weeks. So I didn't have any knowledge of all of the historicals. So this year I was like, okay, well, at least I can talk coherently about the history of some of the numbers and where they're coming from now. Is Commissioner Thompson, should I jump in or are we
Yep.
waiting?
No, you go ahead
Okay.
and run your show.
Commissioner Moppin is not attending today. Commissioner Thompson is the
Oh.
acting chair.
My
And
apologies.
then Commissioner Caldwell.
So nothing new. I just kind of wanted to go through this with you all, and if you had any questions or anything you wanted clarification on, provide that opportunity. I did want to make note of one mistake that I made. On page 3, I quoted that 35% of our expenses were $130,000, and that was including some of our corporate overhead, so that's not shelter specific. So the accurate number is from figure 2. Which shows that row of 35% of shelter expenses for specifically 2024. So I just wanted to clarify that.
That's that 20 back up there, right there. That's 106,000.
That's 35% of our shelter expenses last year, which would directly correlate to the 35% of our annual intakes that come from the county.
That comes from the county.
Okay, so going from the top, McPaws is much more than a shelter. We take a very holistic approach to animal welfare in this community. And so in 2024 and looking through previous years, you'll see a little bit of a trend of decreasing numbers. And that has 2 reasons. One, mainly being we've really grown our programs that are focused on keeping pets with their people. And then the other asterisk to that for last year is we didn't have a veterinarian for much of the year. So we did have a volunteer veterinarian that stepped up and helped us, but it wasn't consistent. So that impacted how many animals we were able to intake because we didn't want them to sit in the shelter. So the programs that we have that are focused on keeping pets with their people, microchips and pet ID tags, those are free for people with cats. Dogs at the shelter, it's $15. We try and keep it very easy. And then the pet tags, if a dog ends up in the shelter and are microchipped but don't have a pet ID tag, we usually give people a free ID tag in the hopes that that animal never has to come into the shelter. If somebody sees them on the side of the highway, if a concerned citizen picks up that dog or cat, they can go directly back to the home and we never have to be involved. We have the TNR program, which stands for Trap, Neuter, Return, or Trap, Neuter, Release. That is a program specific for community or feral cats, cats that live outside, have never been associated with people, and want nothing to do with us. There's quite a lot of community cats in this region, and the TNR program is a long-term solution to try and decrease those numbers. So we provide the community with traps, provide all the resources we can to get those cats to us. We fix them, vaccinate, fix, tip their ear and re-release, so that long-term that population is controlled. Research has shown if you just remove those cats from their environment, there's enough in the country that that resource will just be filled by another cat, and so that's why research shows to return them. Something that we just started tracking last year is our pet food pantry, and I'll touch base more on the specific numbers later. But that was another one that we think really is having an impact on people surrendering their pets. We have lots of people that come in monthly that, going through some sort of financial hardship, they just don't have the funds to pay for pet food. We send them out the door with it, no questions asked. Those are kind of the big hitters on things that keep pets with their people. So Valley County intakes by type for last year and historically, so that TNR, like I said, you'll see in 2023 we had very large numbers. Last year, because of no staff veterinarian, we had to cut back on that program. We hosted one clinic at our vet hospital, but that facility is more general practice setup, so we just ran the one. But now we have a shelter veterinarian back, so that TNR program is back up and running. Surrenders decrease over the last 3 years. Again, we think that's through those programs that are providing support for people so they don't have to surrender their pets. Animals returned, along that same train of thought. We got a grant late last year, early this year, that allowed us to send our shelter staff to a behavior training course. So we're able to provide in-house behavior consults, which again is helping people get through the behavioral issues that pets have without having to surrender them.
So it might be like they adopt a pet, then it doesn't work out, then they return it.
Yeah. So we're trying to give resources for people to try before they go to surrendering. Law enforcement, relatively steady. Touch on the case, but you all know where the bigger number came from with those sled dogs that were seized. Emergency sheltering, we started officially last year, but we've been doing it for a couple years. That's focused on folks that their house burns down, or last year with the fires and people were evacuated where they were evacuated to that didn't allow them to take their pets. When we have space, we open up our shelter for those animals again so people don't have to surrender or move away without their pets. And then strays, a little bit of a decrease from 2023 to 2024. I don't really I can't provide a ton of dialogue as to why that is. I can only hope that we're starting to see that decrease is, again, with those pet chips, pet ID tags and microchips, when animals are found on the county, on the highway.
Mainly dogs, or?
Usually, yeah. We've adjusted our policy to be a little bit more strict with outdoor cats. If they are unsocialized to humans, we only take them in if they're injured and actively needing our help. Otherwise, it's stressful for them to come into the shelter. Our staff have had to go to the hospital a couple times this year, which is what caused the policy change. Like with proper PPE, still bit, had to go get their own rabies. And when cats are stressed, they get sick. And so that impacts our shelter welfare. So, and then usually cats aren't microchipped, which is why we're still pushing for that as well. So yes, most of our strays are dogs. And so then historically, you'll see the percent of total Valley County was increasing, and then that trend of 2024 last year, we kind of had to adjust our intakes because of no veterinarian impacted those numbers a little bit, and with our programs that are keeping pets with their people. Case study from last year is that those 5 sled dogs, Douglas and I went back and forth a lot, and then Ashley, the prosecutor, just trying to get these dogs surrendered to us so we could do something with them. They were with us for 60 plus days in impoundment, and they came in really emaciated, like 25 pounds. They're back up to 55, 60 pounds. So words don't do justice how emaciated they were. They tried to eat cell phones during their intake because they were so hungry. And so we're really proud of our staff and their ability to rehab those dogs. We were really excited when we got the surrender paperwork and were able to use the Idaho sled dog community to get them adopted. They're in a home now with a sled dog professional, and he's testing out if they can be rehabbed enough. He's taking it very slowly, but They're really jazzed to be back in an environment that's familiar to them with the proper nutrition. So from a emotional side, I want to point out how grateful we were to this contract to be able to be there for those dogs and house them. And then from a financial side, their cost of care while they were with us was just about $20,000. So that one case almost hit our entire year's worth of contract.
Does that, who pays for that 20,000? That comes from the county or?
Yeah, so for that one, the contract with y'all is $25 a year. And then the first 30 days of impoundment are covered under that contract. So since the dogs were with us for 70 days, that 31 to 70 days was on top of the contract. So I think we billed you all for around $7,500,
Yep, that's correct.
which is based off of our the contract with you guys, which is $40 or $45 a day. Sorry, I don't know which one specifically, but $40-ish a day.
So how's, might be the sheriff, I got a question for that. I mean, was that a misdemeanor on that guy's part, taking those dogs away from him? I mean, does he get fined for that amount?
Commissioner, there will be restitution requested through the prosecuting attorney's office, but the questions that you're asking are probably for the prosecuting attorney to respond, but it is my understanding that they will be seeking restitution, not only for the funds that the county paid, but also the funds that were incurred by McPaws.
Like these guys,
And I have
Or
submitted the
cost incurred by McPaws, sorry.
right?
And I have submitted that documentation that was requested for that. As it stands right now, that's where we lie with how the payment and everything went through.
I appreciate that.
So I already talked about most of this, but our length of stay, this is a big thing with sheltering. Most for 2024, our average was 29.4 days. Through the shelter veterinary medicine standards, anything over 14 days is considered long-term. So since we got that veterinarian, and we've worked on those other programs that limit our intakes, so we're moving animals more quickly, in May, our average dropped to 12.25 days. So starting to fall under the short to medium length stay, which is what we're going for. I wanted to call out May specifically just because if I did January through May, our numbers are still funky because we can't pull cases out. So with those sled dogs in there, it would have skewed the number. Expenses and daily cost of care. As you can see from 2022 to 2024, our cost of care per day increased exponentially, almost 80% over the last 2 years.
Is that from food and labor?
Yeah, mostly food and labor. And that cost of care is not including the corporate overhead and the development team. So we have a development director who manages all of our website. She does the marketing of all of our shelter animals. She does all of our grants, our events for fundraising, and then corporate being insurance, my salary, our bookkeeper, compliance type stuff. Those expenses are not associated with that cost of care. That's simply taking our average length of stay with our intakes of animals and our shelter expenses. So that's how that cost of care was calculated. Last year, the wins for last year and over the last few years, lots of adoptions, lots of animals finding new homes. Community clinic is a combination of that TNR that I've mentioned multiple times and then a low-cost spay-neuter clinic. So we have grants that we get at the shelter for those. Because of no veterinarian last year, we're now hosting that at our vet hospital as another outreach opportunity. But that is for folks that are financially challenged and gives them a discount on spay-neuter services, microchipping, vaccinations, that sort of thing. Again, whole populace of animals in this community, making sure they get the services they need.
Do you guys do January 1 to December 31? Is that your year?
Can you say that one more time? Sorry.
Do you use January
Yeah.
to December? That's your year?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, Jan 1 through December 31. Return to owner, self-explanatory. Pets that came to the shelter, we helped reunite with their owner. I think 98% of those are dogs. Again, cats usually aren't microchipped or tagged if they're outside. Emergency shelter started actually marketing it and talking about it last year, and you can see this year we've already surpassed last year's numbers. Transfer out are animals that have been with us kind of past that 30-day mark where they become a longer length of stay. If they are a good adoption candidate, but our community just isn't looking at them, we have relationships with surrounding Idaho shelters where we'll trade with them to move dogs out of here so that we can hopefully decrease their length of stay. Food pantry, like I said, last year we just started tracking it, just over 3,400 pounds, and we're already at nearly 2,500 this year. So we're really excited about that program. It's completely funded by donations from the community. So when people open a bag of food for their pet, and then their pet maybe doesn't like it, they'll come drop off that open bag at the shelter, and that's what we use for our food pantry. We don't use that food to feed our shelter animals. We get donations from McCall Pet Outfitters for that. So totals, again, kind of seeing that increase through 2023 and then that decrease through 2024 that I've discussed. And then the last three are just extra points to touch on. Mostly foster animals are part of our intake, but you can see how many we do per year. Those are animals that we put into a foster home to either give them a break from the shelter or hopefully facilitate an adoption. We do a lot of foster to adopts, which we call failed fosters. You can see that average length of stay decrease, and there's that full 2025, including that long length of stay with those sled dogs. That's okay. Home to Home is not included in our intakes. That is a third-party organization that helps facilitate animals directly from one home to another. So when last year especially, and just being a small shelter with limited resources, we always try and direct people to that site before they bring them to the shelter. Because if we can help a dog come from my home to your home and skip the stress of the shelter entirely, that's the best off for the animal. So that's another resource we use if our wait list is long, if we don't have space, or just in general to try and help people rehome their pets and decrease stress.
Average length of stay seems to be pretty stable all across the board.
Yeah, and it's because we can't withdraw those random cases. So, this year was those 5 dogs. Last year we had a dog that was with us for just over a year before we could get her transferred out. And so those 1 dogs really skew the number. The goal is to keep it under 30. Really, the goal is to keep it under 12. But when we have those weird 1 outliers, they kind of screw the average up.
I noticed overall your numbers, like even at through June this year, your numbers are almost half of what the year before was.
Yeah.
So, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
I already talked about this, so I don't feel like I need to talk about it too much more, but average cost of care per day, mostly because of electricity, people, cost of goods, has increased drastically over the last 2 years. So bring it back to why I'm here. Wanted to give a report on all the good work that we've done and show some historical data, and also ask you to consider an increase in our contract. Looking back at figure 2, $106,000 roughly of our expenses are attributed to Valley County animals. That's kind of our break-even cost. So feels a reasonable and appropriate request to ask you to increase our contract to $40,000. And then would also like you to consider a 3-year term with a 5% increase that kind of matches inflation. That way that we're here for you for a longer period of time. We know what our income is going to look like for a longer period of time, and we can plan appropriately to make sure we're sustainable for the animals in our community. And then really fast, sorry, one more chart. I'm a big chart person. My staff was giving me grief about it. I don't need to talk through these. I just wanted to make sure you knew that they're at the very back of that document. Intake per jurisdiction by number, and then figure 6 is by pie chart. And so I know last year when I was here, the commissioners asked me where else we were getting funding from. Currently, you guys and the city of McCall are the 2 places we receive funding. I have reached out to Adams County as the other big piece of that chart, as well as Idaho County, to try and get in front of them to request a contract. But at this time, I haven't heard anything about moving forward.
I appreciate the presentation. We, of course, we're not gonna make a decision today because
Right.
we need
I
our
understand.
chairman here.
Yes.
Needs to be the whole board.
Yes.
We're discussing money, so, but no, that's a very good presentation. And I understand everything goes up, nothing goes down.
Always.
No, we sure appreciate that. I like our paper one. I'm kind of like Catlin. I like to have my paper proposal.
I think one thing to know is we're kind of revamping this process on where some of these type of monies go. So in the future, it's going to be more of like an official request process,
Okay.
where we'll actually go out for proposals and we will want a formal proposal from you with
Okay.
budgets,
Okay.
info. We're not sure. We're just still working on putting this together, but just a heads up, this is going. And so there will be, let's just say, for example, August 1 through August 30th will be the proposal time
Okay.
to get it in, and then we'll actually take all of those. We most likely will have a set amount of money, and we will look at all proposals such as yours.
Okay.
All at the same time.
Would it be helpful for you prior to that process of getting our like shelter specific budget and seeing that, or
I think just everything put in the proposal will be.
This is awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome. Wanted paper though. That's just me. But yeah, that's exactly what we're gonna do, and that'll help out tremendously. And I know the sheriff's department, they use you guys, and you've been a really good resource for them. And there's nobody up here.
It does seem like there's dogs missing every minute on Facebook,
Oh, yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
It just
Always.
increases every day.
I got a dog and 2 cats. They're all chipped.
Yep. Yeah, and so I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the sheriff office has a microchip scanner with them. Yes. The city police do, pet store does, so kind of any location where we can get those out. Again, trying to keep dogs from
So I guess it would.
coming to the shelter if we
Well,
can.
it's trying to figure out, well, you're gonna go out there and try to find them, but no, when they come into your office, you can use a pet scanner.
Yeah,
Well, this is owned by such and such.
exactly.
Yeah,
It's the good backup if they don't have the easy to read tag or if the tag's worn off.
no, I appreciate your proposal. This is awesome. The 3-year proposal, we'll have to discuss that.
Yeah, we'll discuss it when we
Yeah,
go over all the proposals.
I think that's a good thing to do, but yeah, it's always something we have to.
I
We're
understand.
used to 1 year.
Yep.
We're getting more requests for 3, so we'll see.
I figured I'd throw it out there early so you could think about it before August.
You done good. You done
Thank you.
good.
Are there any other outstanding questions or things I can speak to for you?
I don't.
No, I don't at this time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
You bet. And we're not gonna be on till when?
You can probably
250?
we can probably approve the press release.
Good press. Oh, nobody's coming in for that?
That was presented by me.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if we normally approve press releases with the entire commission, but I thought it just in case.
Commissioners, I think it's a wise idea, just so that you're all on board. It makes sense. So, and that was included. Was it included in the packet? I
No, I sent it later
You did. Okay.
because it wasn't quite ready.
Okay.
So
We wanna table it until Sherry's here too, or that's
I-
your call.
no,
Neil doesn't care.
we really want to get this out so that we can start right after the 4th. So
Make a motion and
I move that we approve the press release for the Valley County Fairgrounds Master Plan.
seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Then, we don't have a budget workshop with the Valley County Fair Board until 3 o'clock, so Dr. Miller, if you wanna put us on hold for
Okay.